Today we're going to talk about one of my favorite races from the 2016 Olympics, and that is the women's 200-meter backstroke. Before we get into the race, I'm going to give you a little bit of context about this race. In the years leading up to the Olympics, Hungarian Katinka Hosszu had made a name for herself as being a very dominant and versatile swimmer. In fact, by the time the 200 back had rolled around in the 2016 Olympic Games, Katinka had already won 3 individual gold medals in the 400 IM, the 200 IM, and the 100-meter backstroke. In 2015, Hosszu placed third at the World Championships in the 200-meter backstroke behind Australian Emily Seebohm and American Missy Franklin. Both Franklin and Seebohm failed to qualify for the finals, not swimming fast enough in the semifinals of the event. That meant that Seebohm, the previous year's top-ranked backstroker, and Franklin, at the time the current world record holder and the fastest performer in the 200 back by almost a full second, were not in the field. Now we're going to look at the race between Maya Dirado and Katinka Hosszu, chasing down that gold medal. Now, Maya Dirado's first international experience was at the World Championships in 2015, where she placed third in the 400 IM and fourth in the 200 IM. Coming into the 2016 trials, Dirado had the top American time in the 200 backstroke and was coming off of a very successful year of international competition and training. At trials, she had already won the 400 IM and the 200 IM, securing her spot on the Olympic team. We know that she was a world-class backstroker, as she had a lot of success with it internationally that year, but as well as being an All-American for Stanford University throughout her collegiate career in the 200 backstroke. She entered the finals at the United States Olympic Trials as the top seed in the 200 backstroke, racing the, at the time, world record holder Missy Franklin. Dirado got her hand onto the wall first, dropping more than a second from her best time, going from a 2:08.2 to a 2:06.9 in that swim. Earlier in the 2016 Games, Maya had already won a silver medal in the 400 IM and a bronze medal in the 200 IM, but both were behind gold medalist Katinka Hosszu. Coming out of prelims in the 200 backstroke, Maya qualified third with a 2:08.60 behind a 2:06.0 performance from Katinka Hosszu. In the semifinals, she swam a 2:07.53 to again qualify third for the finals, where Katinka was seated at the top seed with another 2:06.0 performance. Katinka's two 2:06.0 performances were just off of her lifetime best, and they were also the 2 fastest performances in the 200 backstroke that year, and both of them were the fastest times of the Olympic Games by more than a full second. She was looking almost unstoppable. Katinka took out the race fast in a 1 minute 0.9 seconds, just 0.4 off of Missy Franklin's world record pace. Katinka was looking very strong and looking like she was on her way to her 4th gold medal, as she had a half-second lead over Dirado at the halfway point. During the third 50, Dirado fought her way back, just coming up on Katinka's shoulders at the turn. Coming off the last wall, Katinka put up a dominant underwater, coming up nearly a full body length ahead of Dirado. And towards the end of the last 50, Dirado surged and reached into the wall, getting her hand onto the wall first by just a few 100ths. Let's take a deeper look into this race and the different racing strategies and executions by Hosszu and Dirado. We're going to take a look at the tempo, and tempo refers to the time it takes to complete a stroke cycle. The normal range for elite women in the 200 backstroke tends to be an average of a 1.3 to a 1.5 second stroke rate. Typically, the first 50, the tempo is a little bit faster, and then an average tempo is maintained over the last 3 50s. next thing we're going to look at is stroke counts. Now, stroke counts tend to be a little bit more individual per swimmer. There's not a specific range, as each swimmer is going to have a different stroke count depending on any number of factors. Dirado took 33 strokes on the first 50, 36 strokes on the second 50, 36 strokes on the third 50, and 39 strokes on the last 50, while Hosszu took 37 strokes on the first 50, 42 strokes on the second 50, 42 strokes on the third 50, and 46 strokes on the last 50. Now, Hosszu was taking a lot more strokes than Dirado, but this was a pretty typical strategy, a pretty typical race for Hosszu. In fact, at the 2015 World Championships, she swam 41, 44, 44, and 46 strokes on her way to the bronze medal there. It was also a pretty typical strategy by Dirado. While at the 2016 trials, she swam 33 strokes, 35 strokes, 35 strokes, and 37 strokes. When we look at the turns and underwaters, it appears that Hosszu's turns were consistently a tenth to maybe 2/10 faster than Dirado's turn. On each underwater, Dirado spent a little bit more time underwater than Hosszu, although Hosszu did go further faster on a few of those underwaters. Really, when you look at these factors, they both swam a pretty typical race compared to their usual racing strategy. There was nothing out of the ordinary that really made a big difference in terms of how each swimmer ultimately competed. Race separated by just a couple hundredths of a second. The finish is always a major factor, and the finish is really where the race was won in this case. You can see from the pictures of the finish that Dirado held a better body line and had a full extension on her finish, while Hosszu reached her head back and looked to spot the wall. This just made a marginal difference between the time that both of them were able to hit the wall. Another thing we like to look at is each swimmer's racing strategy. How did they split the race? Now, I think looking at this race by 100 splits tells the tale a little bit better. Dirado's opening 100 was a 101.47, and she came home in her back 100 in a 101.52. That's a 3.05 second fade between the first 100 split and the second 100 split. Meanwhile, Katinka's opening 50 was a 1 minute .90, and her back 100 was a 105.15. That is a 4.25 second fade. Outside of the finish, this race came down to executing really good racing strategy. Dirado managed her energy levels a little bit better in the first 100, not overswimming that too much, making sure that she had enough speed coming home. From looking at her splits, from looking at her tempo, from looking at her stroke counts, we can tell that she really attacked that third 50 to put herself in a great position to come home strong. I think there are a few very important lessons that we can take from this race. First, we want to make sure that we know what our ideal racing stroke counts and stroke rates are. Being able to practice those situations is going to help make sure that all of our details come through in a high-stress racing situation, just like they came through for both Dirado and Hosszu. What we also want to make sure we're doing is whether we're practicing full hard effort 200 swims or doing broken 200 swims, we want to practice executing our racing strategy to make sure that we have a strategy that works well for us and that we can stick to it and that we can implement that racing strategy even under duress. I think it's also important to remember that no one, even the greats, are unbeatable.